right, that takes us to the next proposition that's a hot one right now in the news, and that is Proposition 6 that has to do with the fuel tax. So let's talk about that one really quickly, because that's a very interesting one as well. How is it looking, and what is that one all about? I know, Rob, you were going to cover that one.
Well, gas tax, so real quick, it doesn't really repeal it. It more or less overrides the SB1 gas tax and vehicle fee increase that was passed by the legislature last year. It will also, though, require a vote of the people for any future tax on gasoline. So that's intriguing as well, and the consequences of that are substantial. It is there's a big opposition campaign funded by people that build roads, labor, contractors, engineers. Republicans in Congress put this on the ballot, trying to rally Republicans to come out and vote in November because they knew the governor's race wouldn't be competitive.
Well, it's interesting you say that, because our GOP candidate in California is running. All his ads seem to be around Proposition 6, because he gets that the Republicans don't want, they don't want to pay gas tax. They get that no more taxes, and so he's getting a lot of momentum because of it, and also a lot of media publicity because of it.
And Prop 6 is ground zero for organized labor.
Right.
How often does the Chamber of Commerce and the AFL-CIO agree? Right? The roads in this state, the bridges in this state, the infrastructure in the state is falling apart. There is no free lunch in California. Those opportunities to build roads, to build bridges, to build this infrastructure, and also create middle-class jobs in this state for the next generation, it's too damn important. And the legislature was bold, and we lost a legislator because of this issue.
Well, and I want to piggyback on that, because I think it's a great point, Dan. I mean, when you talk about the Chamber of Commerce, we're really talking about 68,000 jobs across the state of California that are at stake, which obviously is why those types of labor unions oppose it. We're also talking about $183 billion in economic investment. And one of the things I'd add, when you talk about bridges and roads, it's so important, we're also talking about public transit infrastructure throughout our state. So when you say things like, it's applying to things like light rail and BART in the Bay Area. So these are things that some of our lower socioeconomic folks are needing to take.
Rob, don't you take light rail all the time?
You know what? That's on my bucket list, and maybe you and I can go together. But
I've taken it many times.
But I would say this is kind of like a mini New Deal, right, for the state of California.
Right.
And the one thing I would correct is it isn't jobs, it's careers. These kinds of, the kind of work that's being done is really fueling middle-class careers. And I think it's a big, big deal, and I'm sure hoping it passes.
And Joe Taxpayer, the Joe Taxpayer perspective is we already pay the highest gas prices in the country. Now I got to pay more. You've taxed me, and they're reading in the newspaper about a budget surplus. So there's a hard reconciliation for Joe Taxpayer and Jane Taxpayer as to why you just raised my gas tax when there's a tax surplus already in Sacramento.
Yeah. Well, we're going to keep continuing to keep close eyes on these issues. Obviously, these are hot topics. As we get closer to the November 6th election, we're going to continue to share with you what's happening. Now, I want to toss this back into a break to thank our sponsors, and we'll be back shortly with that. But before we go, I want to mention that our next segment is going to be about the entertainment. You don't want to miss it, because we've got some DMV stories I hear, and a little bit of a Dead or Alive.
Do we have to be entertaining?
I guess so. We'll be back.